Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to a recording of the Nonprofit Activator podcast. This is the podcast where I amplify the good work that nonprofits are doing all across the country. But this is a little different. So I am specifically focusing on new and small nonprofits because those are the ones that don't get a lot of visibility. Those are the ones that don't get a lot of support. So every month, I'm going to be lifting up the stories of extraordinary nonprofit founders, and today is no different because she is amazing. But we're going to talk about how they're changing their communities. And I am so tired of hearing about negative stories. So we're going to focus on the good and the change that people are doing every single day. So, with that, I want to share information about my guest, Leah Angel Daniel with Fostering Greatness. So, Leah Angel Daniel is a change maker. She is a community developer. She's an author, speaker, and advocate. She's the founder and CEO of Fostering Greatness, and that is a Buffalo based nonprofit that works to support transitioning foster care youth, young adults, and alumni of color in Western New York. She is actually an alumna of foster care herself, and she's very passionate about ensuring that youth with foster system experience have the skills and the support they need to succeed. Daniel has partnered with organizations in the Buffalo area to address the housing, employment, and mental health struggles of young people aging out of foster care. She's also partnering with organizations to bring education, college, vocational support to young people in the foster system and to ensure the inclusion of students who are underserved, underemployed, unemployed, and overlooked in the advanced manufacturing workforce. I told y'all she's amazing. She's doing so much. She just wrote her second book. It's a memoir called I Shall Not Be Moved: My Extraordinary Journey from Trauma to Triumph, where she addresses issues such as abuse, unaddressed mental health within Black and Brown families, concrete support in times of need, and community engagement. So she is currently pursuing her doctorate in executive leadership, and she's the mother of two beautiful and vivacious daughters. So, with that, I want to welcome Leah to the podcast. Hey, Leah, welcome.
Hey,
Thank you for coming.
thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let's just jump right in. Tell us about Fostering Greatness and what inspired you to start the organization.
Well, fostering greatness, this basically grew bigger than what I ever expected it to be. Never
Hmm.
thought I would be doing what I'm doing. This nonprofit that started out as just program based. I
Hmm.
just plan to do programs with those who are transitioning out of the foster care system, going and presenting at independent living programs. But when the pandemic happened, a
Hmm.
lot of youth and young adults were contacting me and they were like, listen, Miss Leah, we have nowhere to go. Our social workers aren't returning our phone calls. We're out here, as they would say, doing a strange thing for a piece of change. And, they were in survival mode. So I took my own money and I was renting hotel rooms for them to have a place to stay, sending DoorDash and Uber Eats for them to have some of the essentials they needed in food. And I
Wow.
said, this housing is a huge issue. So it's bigger than what I thought it was. And so
Hmm.
that's where I began to go and provide different things that was needed for the alumni population and for those who are transitioning out. And so more than just looking at what was on the surface, but diving down deeper and saying we need some type of permanency for those who are going into adulthood. And
Hmm.
that's how the rest of fostering greatness was developed. So, with providing more than just the basic needs, but things that they need in order to thrive: food, clothing, shelter, guidance.
Hmm. Yeah.
Having a space where they know that it's for us by us, where
Hmm.
they're not going to be re traumatized, being asked their same story over and over again, but a place where people understand some of the struggles that this particular population has faced and is willing to assist them in their journey, however old they are or whatever
Right.
walk of life they've come from.
Right. And tell me a little bit more about like where the inspiration or where the vision came from for Fostering Greatness. Cause I know, we've talked, we obviously are
Mhm.
friends. So I know about Fostering Greatness, but would love to hear the story of why even start an organization. Where did that come from?
Right. Well, I grew up in the foster care system from the age of 11 until 21 when I aged out. I had some
Mhm.
phenomenal mentors that I met when I was a teenager, and they were a godsend. They were the people who helped me change my perspective of the foster care system in the world and showed me how to turn a negative situation into a positive
Mhm.
outcome.
Mhm.
So I went to school for broadcasting and mass media. I was on the road thinking I was going to be the next Oprah, and went to school. Education was, my way of advancing. And then I ended up just teaching English classes and courses and things like that. And when I was done with foster care, I was like, I'm done. Like, I don't want to do anything
Right.
pertaining to that. I ended up getting a job at Warner Brothers in Burbank, California, and I still had siblings who were in the foster care system. And
Mhm.
so some unfortunate events happened to one of my younger brothers. So that's how I ended up back here in Buffalo, New York, leaving my job, leaving my dreams behind so that I could take care of my siblings because I didn't want them to feel like they didn't have anybody. And
Mhm.
so through the journey of raising my siblings, I learned how to advocate on another different level. My one brother was legally blind. He
Mhm.
had a lot of mental health issues, and just really trying to get the things that he needed so that he could have a full life. I learned
Mhm.
so many things. And then I thought to myself, how many young people are struggling out here,
Right.
are left behind, and are forgotten? And they don't have anybody. They don't have older siblings. They don't have anybody to stand in the gap for them. And
Mhm.
that's how Fostering Greatness was birthed, because I knew that there was a need. And
Mhm.
also, it served as a purpose for my own healing, going through the foster care system. I had some unfortunate um, events that happen with foster parents, just not being able to trust people and thinking about,
Mhm.
how people were just doing this for the money and really not sewing into the lives of young people. And so I wanted to do different. I wanted to show up and be different. And I wanted this particular population to know that there are alumni out there who have gone through certain things so that they don't have to, and that we're willing to stand in the gap for them, to assist them on their journey of life too, in whatever way possible. Meaning
Mhm.
that if you can only donate, if you can volunteer, if you can just be a mentor, whatever capacity that we have in place, and that Fostering Greatness would serve as that hub for them to come to that specific place, because there's nothing like it.
I love that. I love that, especially when you were talking about for us, by us, because
Yes.
speaking to you talking about not being able to trust people, that's really the experience of a lot of young people coming out of foster care. And it's hard to engage and connect with the provider and understanding that they really want the best for you. Sometimes that's the reason why, some providers or some programs can't get through to some young people in the way that they want to. So I love that you saw that need, not just in your own family, but decided to bless other people and expand your impact. And I believe the time that's your calling. It's the
Yes.
time for you to be doing this and to stand in the gap for a lot of young people. So I know a lot of people may not understand the foster care system and they may not understand why it's so important to support young people who are aging out of foster care. Can you talk a little bit about why your organization matters? Like, what would happen if it did not exist for young people?
Well, there isn't an organization currently like Fostering Greatness Inc. A lot of the foster care or child welfare programs have an age differential. So a lot of programs stop either at the age of 18, 21, or 24, some
Mhm,
even to the age of 26. But when we think about this particular population, a lot of them have been exposed to trauma, abandonment, neglect. And
mhm,
if anyone knows anything about the makeup of the adolescent brain, when a person has been exposed to these things, their brain doesn't fully develop in the time frame that we would expect, just a regular adolescent to develop. So although these
mhm,
services may be available for them, they may be at the age of 21, but operating at the age of a 15-year-old. So a lot of them
mm,
are unable to take advantage of the resources that are available. And also, it depends on what foster care agency they're connected to or they're enrolled in, because a lot of them don't all have the same services that are available. So
mm,
I recently found out that we have housing vouchers through HUD, through Section 8, but there are only two nonprofit organizations that assist with foster care youth that are connected when we have many more than two here in Western New York. And so there's a full population of young people who are not getting the resources they need in order to not become homeless. So
Mm,
just really knowing about all of these different things and fostering greatness, again, serving as that particular hub where they can come and get the information they need before they're in a crisis moment, before they're, couch surfing, or, out here being human sex trafficked, or just,
mhm,
being in abusive situations because they feel like that's the only place that they have to go. So we're trying to reach them before they're in that situation so that they can have a little bit more leeway and really know what's available to them and for them.
mhm. So let's talk a little bit about your journey as a nonprofit founder, because I know you mentioned before you had no idea that the organization would grow this way.
Yes.
But can you share how has that journey been as a founder? And you can be as honest as possible. And I know you're working to become full time because this really is a passion for you. But talk a little bit about the journey to get started.
This was just going to be a side gig for me. Like, again, just thinking about how I could just, assist in a way where I could still, move in my own career and then have this on the side. When I realized again the need and the capacity that I would be needed, I had to make some decisions and it wasn't easy. I felt like there was so much to learn. And growing up in the foster care system, I think a lot of us, especially African American women, we
Mhm,
feel like we're already behind. Like the things that we're learning or we should have learned in childhood or adolescence, we feel like we're at a disadvantage. And I'm just speaking from the population that I've encountered. And
mhm,
so I felt like I wasn't equipped, to do the job, even though I was educated. I felt like I just needed to learn how everything operated. And so that's when I sought you out and saw all the
mhm,
things that you were doing. And it helped me to really dot all my I's and cross all my T's and ask the specific questions I needed to know specifically for this particular type of nonprofit. And
mhm,
so, because I was the first one doing something of this nature, and going into a whole housing perspective that
mhm,
no one had touched, there was so much more I had to do on the outside and really trying to get partners. I always tell people, I don't want to do this work by myself. I
mhm,
want to collaborate. I want to have partnerships. And so I had to be uncomfortable in a lot of situations because, again, being vulnerable and saying, listen, I don't know how to do that, but I would like to learn. Or is there
mhm,
something you can connect me to? So it was a lot of self work as far as self education. And, a lot of times people will say, well, all you need is your EIN number and a bank account, and you can start your nonprofit. And there's so much more to that, like
yeah.
getting, the best board. And what does that look like? How do you get resources? Also, bookkeeping, CPAs, all of these
Mhm,
different things that are needed. And especially with a lot of nonprofits that have BIPOC leaders, we
mhm,
start out in a deficit. We don't have the foundational toolkit because we don't have the proper education of people guiding us on what's
mhm,
needed in order for us to be strong and have sustainability. So for me, it was just really doing the work and really learning along the way. And I was also connected to other mentorship programs. So
mhm,
here in the city of Buffalo, the Oshai Leaders of Color,
mhm,
doing different things in the community, connecting with other nonprofit organizations and seeing, what worked for them and what didn't. And just really focusing on relationships with people. So that's what really helped me to really move forward in what I was doing and sharing with people what I was trying to do and to
yeah.
know that this is the only organization doing this. So we may serve as the prototype for others to do this. So
Mhm,
it was a huge calling. And let me tell you, Tiffany, I used to wake up out of my sleep thinking about this, having visions and knowing that this was something I was supposed to do, but it also scared me to death
mm,
because I didn't have people in my corner saying, yes, do this, do that. Other people like, girl, leave that foster care stuff alone. You grown now. Like you need to move on and do something else. Or they say, it's no money in nonprofit. So
Mhm.
I wouldn't even do that. Or, or why are you using your own money? Or why would you do that for them? And I had to remind people, if it was not for the people who stepped in the gap for me, I wouldn't be who I am today or where I am today. So I
Wow.
just wanted to give back to the community that gave to me and do it to a point where it didn't hinder or disrupt my life, but I was doing it because I knew it was my purpose. I knew it was my calling. And as much as I fought it along the way,
Yeah.
once I did what I was supposed to do, everything fell into place. Everything. Not to say that I didn't have hardships, but it wasn't to the point where I felt like I couldn't do it or, those different type of things. I knew that I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. And
Mhm.
the investment on my return, um, or the return on my investment, my
Mhm.
ROI, city different, but was these young people, getting the opportunity to see them flourish and to see them say, listen, like, I appreciate you and what you're doing. And even some young men from prison who were contacting me to see what could be done for them and saying, Miss Leah, if something like this had existed when I was out there, I don't think I would be in prison or be in the predicament that I'm in now. But
Wow.
from this point, is there anything that can be done? Because I grew up in this system and I felt like I had to sell drugs or I had to join a gang or I had to do all of these things because I didn't know any other way or have any other options
Hmm.
that were
Yeah.
available.
Yeah.
Right.
That is so powerful. I mean, you just said so many things, but I do wanna highlight what you said about a calling. I think
Mhm.
that's one thing that people don't realize about folks who are starting organizations with lived experience or organizations within the communities that they're serving. This is so much bigger than I want to start a nonprofit, right?
Right.
This is so much bigger than, oh, I just want to say I have an organization. And it's a different kind of motivation that keeps people going. And it's not often the money, right? Or the fame or anything, notoriety or whatever you want to say about having an organization. It really is a healing process for a lot of people. It can be a
Mhm.
healing journey and it's something else driving them. And I think what people lose sight of is that those people would then do anything it takes to be successful because they know what's at stake. You do whatever is possible because you are so closely connected to the work. And I think a lot of misconceptions people have is that you don't want to know better or you don't want to do better, right? Or if you don't know something, it's because you haven't done enough or you haven't done the research. But I love how you're talking about how I want to do this right because I know if this organization exists, then it could help the people who didn't have anybody else. And
Mhm.
that's what I think is so powerful about what you're doing, especially in the foster care space, where a lot of people kind of know what's happening, but really aren't paying enough attention to
Mhm.
this small group of people who really have a huge impact. It's relatively a small group of kids that are coming through the foster care system and aging out, but it's still there's still outcomes are still important for those
Right.
kids.
Right.
And they really do impact every system, homelessness, education, mental health. We know we could go on and on about foster care, but
Mhm.
I just want to say thank you for doing that work. And you shared so many powerful things about what it means to start. But is there anything you else you want to share about one thing you wish people knew about starting a nonprofit?
Yes. Having a conversation means a lot.
Mm,
Um, I know a lot of times people will say, I don't have all my ducks in a row, or I don't have this, or I don't have that. You can still have a conversation with someone to let them know what you're aspiring to do
mm,
and being open and honest about where you feel you need extra assistance. And there's a lot of people who will mentor and will guide you. So I just want to say if you're starting or have started a nonprofit and you feel like you're underwater or you feel like you don't know everything you need to know, be open and honest about that, but know that you can still move forward with what you're doing. But again, don't do it alone. Don't do it alone. Reach
Yeah.
out, educate yourself. There are a lot of free resources available. There are a lot of people who may invest in you and your vision and your mission for your nonprofit organization and partner with you and help you, along the way. So I just want to say that because a lot of times we're told to keep everything in silence and do this and don't launch out until you have everything together.
Mm,
Now, there are some nuts and bolts that you need to have set in place so that
mhm.
when you audit it, you have all your stuff.
Right.
But you have all your paperwork together. But what I'm saying is, in order to get the work done and in order to get the things that you need or have specific people on your board and talk about these things in the community, utilize your resources and the people that you're connected to. And so that's what I've learned through my journey. And a lot of people are saying, listen, such and such contacted me about foster care, and I gave them your name, and I did this and I did that. And then it grows into being something bigger. And so
Mhm.
I'm only saying what I've experienced, and it has been very beneficial.
Yes, yes, I love that. So, Leah is an amazing collaborator. She knows everybody in Buffalo. And if you're thinking about starting a nonprofit, I really do hope you take her advice to heart because it is those conversations and those connections that matter. And I'm curious, Leah, do you have like an interesting story or just an example of how fostering greatness has changed someone's life?
Yes. So recently, there is a foundation that invested in Fostering Greatness Inc. and they're in New York City. So they provided the opportunity for us to have a storyboard. So we were able to allow other alumni to come forward and speak about their experiences within the foster care system. Now, there's a lot of times people will look at me and they say, "Oh, you don't look like you've grown up in the foster care system."
Mm,
And I said, "Well, what does a person who's grown up in the foster care system look like?" The
mhm,
stereotype is that we're uneducated,
mm,
right? We don't know how to speak properly. Our clothes are torn, tattered, or whatever. We look dirty, and all of those misconceptions, right? And not
mhm,
saying that there are some young people who don't fall into that category, but the majority of us are thriving, right?
mm,
And a lot of times people don't hear about our stories because no one asks. And there's a part of shame and embarrassment that's associated with saying that you've grown up in the foster care system.
yeah.
And so I have met some phenomenal alumni who have some phenomenal stories, about how they've come through so much and have become who they are today. And I wanted just Western New York to be able to hear those stories. And so this particular foundation afforded us the opportunity to do that. With the Story Lab and Create Forward. And we were able to have a panel of these young people from different walks of life who were from the age of 20 on to in their 40s to talk about their
Wow.
experiences. And the people who showed up said, "Oh my goodness, like this was so needed. And I
Mhm,
didn't know. And I'm wondering how I can just be a part and what can I do?" And so I think by having that event, it opened the door. So people aren't just listening to me and my story, but they're really seeing how detrimental these services and things are for this particular population, and not only for those who have aged out but even for those who are currently in the system, because we're living in a different type of world today, and there's a lot of
mhm,
hopelessness, and there's a lot of just young people who just feel like no one cares about them, no one wants to listen. And so we want to change the narrative. And so that's one of the biggest things that I've gone with for this year. That's been, my quote: changing the narrative and really turning a negative situation into a positive outcome. We've all experienced some form of trauma. We've all experienced some form of disappointment. That's how I try to make the connection, because a lot of people feel like, "Oh, well, I didn't grow up in foster care, so, I'm not a
mhm,
part of this. This isn't a part of my life." But I tell people, giving them examples of how they've felt like they didn't have anybody at a certain point in their life,
mm, mhm,
or how they've experienced some form of disappointment. and really getting them to reflect on certain points in their lives when they were adolescents, and thinking that when you were 18 or 21, did you feel like you were equipped enough to be on your own to make appropriate decisions and
Yeah.
choices?
Yeah, that's
And
real.
would you have been able to do that without any support system? And some of them were
Mhm.
like, oh my goodness, no, I was still living with my parents until I was 30. And I'm like, listen, a lot of young people don't have that option.
Yep.
Or seeing your parents suffer from mental health or addiction and you can't do anything about it.
Mm.
So we talk about real life things. And so when I think about the population of so many of us who have made it and being able to share those anecdotes, being able to share their life and lived experiences with those who are currently going through, that's the biggest thing right there for me. Seeing that and seeing these lives transformed, not only just the young people who are in care or even young people in general, but even adults who are like, listen, like this changed my life. And so
Yeah.
just being able to do more community conversations and having dialogue between even those who currently are foster parents and they have the children and not really knowing what to do. Because I
Mm.
tell people all the time, yes, I had custody of my siblings, but my one brother told me, he said, Leah, you did everything you could do. I just wanted my mom and dad. So
Wow.
how do you explain that? What do you do next? Right?
Mhm.
You understand what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
if we build community amongst each other and assist each other and love on each other and give each other grace and say it's okay and say we can get through this together, then I think things would be a lot better, for the system in general, or just saying, I don't
Mhm.
know how to do this. I ended up getting custody of my brother, sister, or kids or whomever kids. And I
Mhm.
did it because I knew it was the right thing to do, but I'm not equipped and I need the resources and I need the village to help me to get to where I need to be. And that's what fostering greatness is about too.
Woo. Mic drop. We could just end it right here. But I do want to ask because you're doing such amazing work, and I've seen this up close and personal. So I'm very aware of the power of Leah's voice, the power of Leah's story, and just the programs that she has in place. But I'm curious, Leah, I want you to talk about something your nonprofit needs right now because we want to
Mhm,
give the audience, we want to activate the audience to be able to sow into you like you sow into these young people.
mhm,
So can you
mhm.
talk about what is something you need right now?
Well, let me bring out my Rolodex. No, I'm just right now we're running a campaign, a national campaign to assist with our housing project. And so we need donations. And when I say donations, it could be monetary, it could be new things for the young people who are currently aging out, meaning housing items, um, gift cards, just different things that they need assistance with. But with the housing campaign, we're currently working on providing units for those who are coming from the mother baby program and father baby program here in the city of Buffalo, home space. So we're providing housing apartments for them. And so we want them to come fully furnished and we want to be able to assist them with just being able to focus on thriving, right?
Mhm.
Having the necessities they need: food, clothing, shelter, and a support. Also, time, talent, and treasure, right? If you're an alumni or you're someone who knows something about the foster care system and you're willing to provide your time to assist us with helping build out these apartments or coming here to speak with the young people or just giving some type of guidance or mentorship, that would be very helpful. We also accept any type of small donation. So if you're not able to give to the housing campaign in order to help us build, consider just doing some membership um, of sending a certain amount each month to
Mhm.
our donation link. And just dialogue with us. We're on all social media platforms: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Please just provide any type of assistance you can, or if you know somebody that knows somebody
That's right.
and looking to invest, um in young people's lives and adults' lives, or just has a story to tell. We're accepting on all levels. So that's where we are, because we look at everything as valuable. Again, time, talent, and treasure. Um, Anything you can give would be greatly appreciated. And we have a link here, and you can donate there to our give box. So that would be
So
very helpful.
y'all heard it here. So Leah is running a housing campaign, and this is an opportunity where you can be activated to do something good, where you can invest and pour into a young person's life and imagine what wouldn't be here if someone hadn't mentored and poured into Leah's life. And so she's just returning the favor, right? She's just doing what was done for her. And your support can make that possible. So if you'd like to donate any amount to make a difference for young people in Western New York, if you're watching this live or watching this on a video, you can go to givebox.com/fostering greatness Inc. And also, the link will be in the show notes for those who are listening later. And I really do hope you consider supporting this effort. Foster care is a passion of mine as well. And I really do believe that if we pay attention to the young people in foster care, our society as a whole will be so much better. They're such a vulnerable but important and powerful population that often gets ignored. So, thank you again, Leah, for supporting them. And I just have a couple more questions for you. What are three pieces of advice that you would give to a nonprofit founder like you?
I would say write the vision and make it plain.
Mm,
People will try to steer you away from what you know you are called to do, and come up with all different types of ways you should go. But stay with the vision that you have, that you know that's in your heart and in your purpose. Connect to other organizations or with other organizations who are doing something similar as yourself. They don't have to be in the same city or state, but connect with them. Join groups, like nonprofit groups or other startup groups, and stay connected. Go to conferences, meet new people,
mhm,
and keep a presence on social media. You never know who's watching or looking for you, and look for organizations that assist nonprofit organizations with free services that are available. One year we received free marketing, just due to our mission and vision for foster care youth. And it was a tremendous help,
mhm,
because it was just me at the time, and so I couldn't keep up with writing grants, um, building the board, keeping up with social media, full time job, wife, mother, working on
mhm.
my dissertation. It was just too much, So any little bit helps. And so there are a lot of resources available. And again, Tiffany has a lot of resources on her social media, and different things like that. So it's very helpful, and to just be in conversation with other startup nonprofits.
Yes, y'all. Listen, take notes, absorb, because that was very, very good information for startup founders. So let's end on a positive or a funny note. If
Yes.
your nonprofit was a song, what would it be?
So listen, y'all know I gotta go with Jay-Z, so ambitious. The motivation for me was them telling me what I could not be. Oh well. Mm, I love it. I love it.
I know that's right. I know you had to give a nod to New York. I knew you had to do
Yes,
that.
yes.
Well, Leah, so where can people find you? I know you mentioned social media, but can you provide the handle so people can find you easily?
Absolutely. So www.fosteringgreatnessinc, that's inc.org. And we are on Instagram, Twitter as Fostering Greatness Inc. Also, my personal page, Leah Angel Daniel, on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Google, if you want to see some of the work that I've done so far, and the mission that we're heading. And so I hope to hear from you all.
Awesome. Thank you, Leah. I hope you all check her out. This is the conclusion of another Nonprofit Activator podcast. Please be sure to listen as this episode is broadcasted all across the world, and we will see you at the next episode. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.